Hello and welcome to Career Center. I'm Kimberly White, Executive Director of the Community Career Center, a resource center located in Naperville providing career and job search advice to job seekers and career changers. Joining me today is author Marti Konstant to discuss career agility. Marti.
Hey, Kim. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. So thanks for coming out and being on the show. I know you're coming in from Chicago, and you're doing a lot of great things there. We'll talk about that. But before we get into all of that, I'd love for you to share a little bit about yourself to our audience.
Well, if you want to go far back, I started out as a designer and then got really curious about the business and marketing side of things. Mm-hmm. Got another degree, got an MBA, and then went into the marketing side of the world, all the way up in technology as a chief marketer. Worked with growth stage tech companies. Mm-hmm. In our last company, we sold to a Fortune 100 company.
All right, so let's step back a little bit. So a designer. So tell me a little bit about that, and then I want to just kind of take those baby steps because you've got a fabulous career. Well,
the design really represents the creative part of mm-hmm. me. So I started the world out as a pure creative, and I thought, what can I do to work in business? So I chose design. And my first job out of college was with a fast-growing technology company right here in Lisle. It was a younger company back then called Tellabs.
Oh, Tellabs.
Mm-hmm. Back when it was a younger company.
Okay.
But it was very fast-growing. Yeah. There was a lot to learn, and it was my opportunity to work in the design profession, mm-hmm. but for a technology company. Mm-hmm. And that's what got me hooked on technology.
Okay, and so from there you then?
I started working with a partner. We started a company, actually right here in Naperville. We started a company that served the needs of technology companies. So we did all of the marketing collateral, the training materials, advertising, things that they needed mm-hmm. to promote their products. And that's another way that I got real involved in everything from photo shoots to interviewing engineers, understanding how to translate technical concepts and to make them easy to understand.
Mm-hmm. So it was something you enjoyed doing.
Yes.
And just kind of on a side note, how have you seen marketing change from when you first started doing it out of college to today?
I would say the singular word to use there is digital. And the other part, I think, started really back in the year 2000, that marketing is conversations now. It's not one way, it's a complete 360 conversation, and that the customer and the partners and the clients have so much more to say. Mm-hmm. And the other thing in marketing is people have generally done 90% of their research before they pick up a phone to talk to a salesperson these mm-hmm. days. So marketing has to bear the burden of creating demand and much more of the sales process.
Mm-hmm. It has really evolved.
Yes, very much so.
So, all right, so you went to Tellabs, and, mm-hmm. and let's keep going on your journey.
Right. And then started a company after that, and they were one of my clients at the time. And mm-hmm. we, again, were working with tech companies. And at that time, a lot of people, I had a design background, but I didn't have a marketing degree. Mm-hmm. And people were asking for marketing expertise. Mm-hmm. And that's when I went back to school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you then started, so let's talk a little bit about career agility.
Okay.
How did that come to be?
It was such a fun story. I was working with engineers my entire career. Again, I was working on the communications front, but I had to understand how an engineer designed a product and how it worked. Okay. And so agility was something that I discovered when they were applying agile methods to their software development process. Mm-hmm. And I used to see these floor-to-ceiling whiteboards documenting their process mm-hmm. from point A to point B mm-hmm. in their stand-up meetings and how they worked from the beginning of the project until completion. And I became fascinated with this application of agile principles. Mm-hmm. I was so interested that I eventually joined a group of global marketers And we applied the Agile principles to the marketing profession.
Yeah.
So we did some of those, and we got together out in San Francisco and did that. And on the way back, on the plane coming back from San Francisco to Chicago, I said, this is a totally relevant platform to discuss careers.
And so from there, you then decided, I'm going to
write a book.
I'm going to write a book.
I'm going to write a book. And writing a book requires research.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to write an opinion piece. I wanted it to be defined by research and something that I could create a model from and help people in that way. So I spent about 2 or 3 years doing research. And I was doing it on the side, which is
So
one
you were
of
working full time and doing it on the
working
side.
full time, doing a lot of global traveling, working full time, and just getting what I could get done. And then started speaking on the topic at some national conferences, some marketing conferences that wanted people to speak in their career tracks.
Did you always think you would write a book?
I always thought I would write a book. I just didn't know what that topic was going to be. And like a lot of people say about things in life, this topic absolutely chose me.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I was reading on you and how you were going about this book, and you interviewed, I think, 120 plus people. What were some other things that you did as you were going through that?
Well, the interesting thing about that was I wanted it to be balanced across all generations. So I interviewed 1/3 millennials, 1/3 Gen Xers, and 1/3 boomers. And then I also conducted a primary research project. Actually, it was a survey research project. I hired a market research firm to tap into the mid-careerists. So I have more research in the mid-careerist realm than I do at either end at this point.
So tell me, and we'll obviously go into the book somewhere, but how do you apply this career agility to careers? Like how is that applied?
Well, the way to understand that is to understand how agile principles work in the software development process. One of them was they had this thing called a backlog of ideas. What a backlog of ideas meant in the software development process, it meant that you might have had 100 ideas, but you could only implement 10 of them in your software release. What do you do with the rest of those 90 ideas? You either nurture them or put them in a feature in the future, or you take them off the table because they're no longer relevant. So that was one example of a principle. The parallel construct to that in the Agile career model is the idea zone. If one collects ideas and gathers ideas every step of the way, not just about your industry, but about what it is that I want to do or you want to do in your life, you're creating a notebook, electronic or otherwise, of tremendous ideas. And you have this tremendous resource then. On your deepest, darkest days, you're able to go to that notebook and energize yourself. And you're also able to, I think Ken Blanchard said that an idea vanishes within 37 seconds of having it. So why wouldn't we want to write that down?
Right. So 7 principles. Let's talk about all of them because we'll have some time, and I think it's really important for our listeners to hear about them. So you talked about, I know there's one on personal brand. We'll maybe talk about that one at the end. But what's one that stands out the most to you that you want to?
Another principle, probably the most global principle, is responding to change. And change comes in all varieties. It's financial change, economic change, personal change that dramatically affects us on a day-to-day basis. So it depends on how you respond to change that gives you the ability to adapt. If you don't adapt to circumstances or respond to change, you're going to get left behind. I often say adapt or die, because if you're not growing, you're not learning, and you're not staying relevant. So responding to change is a big one. And the thing that I also say about that is don't do nothing. If you have a really good, wonderful change, you got a promotion, what is your plan to really make a big impact on that? Don't flow and roll with the punches. really start to respond to those changes.
So in what way would you do that with your example there?
Yeah, a way to do that, let's just take the example of back in 2000 when technology was taking over, and 2007 when social media was taking over, and then digital. If you didn't have the knowledge of what all that meant to your particular area, whether you're in finance or whether you're in marketing or operations, what is the technology component of that? You're going to become irrelevant rather quickly. So taking a course doesn't have to be getting another degree. It could be taking a course. It could be free. It could be a paid course. It could be getting another credential. Today's world has fintech, marketing tech, health tech, those kinds of things, HR tech. HR technology is huge.
Right. So really being able to roll with the punches and with that change. Let's talk about another one.
Another principle. Okay, another principle would be approaching your career as a series of projects. When was the last time you did a project, and what did you feel about when that project started? Were you engaged, excited about it? If you view your career in that way, you will be a interested, and maybe even a person worth studying and very interesting to your boss. And the thing about a project, it has a beginning and a middle and an end. And think about it as riding a wave. You don't want that wave just to end. You want it to keep going. So start another project. Create a new role for yourself in the same department. Look at another department within your organization and go over to that to add to your portfolio of skills.
That's actually very important to do. And it shows to your boss or your manager that you're thinking kind of outside the box with that.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so another principle. We're going to cover all 7.
Oh, we're going to cover all 7. We talked about that earlier. That's a lot. Respond to change, responding to a series of projects. A/B testing. Now, A/B testing is a statistics term, and it's also a term for testing in marketing. We want to test, does this headline work? Or does this other headline work? So we do small tests. Why not do that with your career? You can do that in sequence, from the job you just had to the job you have now, and say, did I like that one better? Was I really in the zone? Or you could do it in parallel by doing a side project.
We're going to follow up on that when we come back. We'll be right back after these important public service announcements.